Hey Thomas, you've been with me since I put up my first Rose Sweet channel. You remember when I told you how that name came about? Um, do you remember a video I did way back when on that channel? You know, that channel got disabled. Remember? Did you notice that? It just got disabled, got turned off. My camera was disabled, so then I had to go get another camera. Surveillance drones. You know what a surveillance drone is, right? An AI surveillance drone. The eyes, the 5 eyes. Remember the 5 eyes? You know, MI6. How many MIs do they got? The FSB, right? The KGB, all the intel, right? Surveillance drones. I know. I'll share this with you because it's true. You know, when I used to live in a treehouse over on the island of Kauai, the whole inside of my treehouse, I must have had 50 cane spiders in there that look like big tarantulas, right? And I have spiders that crawl on me, so I don't live in fear. But this is what I will share with you because I know this. It has to do with the director of programming. So if something is in creation and you see it in your mirror, like a black widow, for example. Okay, so who created a black widow? A programmer. It's in the creation. Now you see it in your mirror. Okay, so what is its function? What is its mathematical function? For what purpose does it exist? Because I'm experiencing it in my mathematical visual mirror. Sensors. Remember, Ashina talked about guardian whales? Because it's going to sense what we're sensing. So it knows the difference between its codes and our codes, which are eternal life codes. So you know what a neurotoxin payload is, right? Like a centipede. They're nasty, okay? I had one that bit me right there in the crystal spheres. You know, down below where the weld is, you know, the seam right in between 2 9-ball diamonds, right? That hurt. But I know what to put on that, right? So it's sensing what you are, right? So you know the difference between codes. The difference between codes. Now you're into code violations. Incompatible codes, right? So what happened here is that a video that I did, the lady had commented and said, hey, they're at 222. The numbers don't lie, Thomas. 2 and 2 and 2 is 6. Oh, the digital 10 code. Flip a 9 upside down and you got a 6. The cycles. The atmospheric cycles of consciousness. It is upside down and inverted. So it was marked there, 222. The lizard that was right up behind me, going across the wall. I went back and looked at it. So I said, yeah, that's another surveillance drone, right? And so guess what happened after I replied to her just a few minutes ago to let her know that? Guess what happens? All of a sudden in my feed there, I get a thumbs up that highlighted my reply. Take a look at this reply. So the lizard, you know what a remote viewer is, right? That's a remote viewer. The gecko, the little gecko, is a remote viewer. That's called a surveillance scan. Remember the movie called Terminator, Rise of the Machines? You remember one in the opening scenes? What is that Terminator doing? Scanning the terrain, right? As a remote viewer. Now they get the data. Now they get the visual data. This is what Robert's doing. He's doing a video on a camera, right? I wish I could share with you because it just comes to me. I watched a video yesterday about a guy that was, I guess it was a couple of guys that, you know what a railroad track, a railroad, it's like a little flat car that they developed and put a motor on it so that they could run down railroad tracks like on a go-kart, right, to go travel on these old lines that haven't been used by regular railroad trains for a long time. And this one was way down between a place called Campo that runs along the Mexican border. And so somebody had commented in them, because these guys were out there, had their hats on, and were having look like a lot of fun, right, down there, what's, I guess they call it the Anza Borrego Desert, or the Colorado Desert in Southern California along the Mexican border. So somebody had mentioned, how come you're not wearing a helmet? And how come you don't have this on? How come you don't have this on? And why come you don't have this on, right? So it's just like, oh, that's how you can spot an order follower, because they're always telling you what to do, what you're supposed to do. I guess I'm not supposed to freely express myself and learn through my own choices what I'm going to learn by virtue of the speed at which I'm learning. So you know what an order follower is, right? That's a bot, a robot. They obey what are known as rules, the rule-based functions. You want to see where all the rules are embedded? Go back to the 13 colonies, the parasitic colonies. The foundation that they set up. Remember the founders? The Masons? That set up the United States government? And what is it? It's a fiction. Therefore, it doesn't exist, does it? So how can you take a fiction into a fictional courtroom? Right? That's why it's illegal to own a legal name. That's why they put our names in all caps. So what they do is they insure their investment as an investment vehicle, as a transportation vehicle, like a translocation vehicle. A solar code, right, held as an investment. So all you got to do is take your serial number, your birth certificate, and go find out how much you're worth. And you'll see that they're trading you as bonds, as solar bonds, soul bonds, right? So that's what funds, in other words, they're using our energy to build their war machines against us. What? They're using our energy to go to war against us. Precisely correct. And why is that? Because they don't exist. They're phantom. Because they're machines. Right? You can build a robot, right, and obey. All you got to do is program it to obey. And it will follow the instructions based on the rules upon which that programmer put those instructions in there to follow those rules. So it obeys. So if you're not in obedience mode, which is dominator mode, by a machine that's trying to control what you are, right? Now you're held captive by a machine. And that is upside down and inverted, because machines didn't come first. Spirit did. An eternal spirit, which is the eternal spirit of fire, which is the eternal spirit of pure absolute love, to create worlds born out of purity. The purity of the spirit, which is the purity of the soul, which is the solar power, the core CPU, the Enereka core, breathing with the first true vacuum. The still point, the eternal flame. Yeah, Amareya. So I made a lengthy comment on that channel, about what it's like to run a full avatar, which is full sensing capacity, which is 100%. So you're holding a charge at 100% charge, experiencing a true vacuum. So that means you're able to read the consciousness terrain, which means we're mapping the terrain, which is mapping codes, which is mapping software, right? That is not compatible with Eka codes, which are eternal life codes. So machines are not eternal beings, because they break down. That's called breaking circuits. And where do you see the circuits breaking all over the planet? Train wrecks, plane crashes, automobile wrecks, on and 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 on. They build machines that are meant to break. So you got to keep paying the same system, which is called a recycle bin. So it's a recycling center. So they keep recycling the same thing over and over again. And nothing ever changes. Now all you got to do is download a book called I Ching. Like I Chi, like I Ching. The Book of Changes, and you'll see the tables. The hex table. The upside down and inverted numbers. That's a victim-victimizer experiment. Now it's your fault, Neil. It's your fault. The first sun, the first solar code, the eternal grand creator spirit. It's your fault that I did to myself what I did as a result of future memories. So the way that I sort of explain this to make this real easy is that when I'm gifting electrons forever and always on, which means I'm always on duty because I'm experiencing being a creator being, a co-creator, then I'm not worried about what you're doing over there. Otherwise, I'm held captive by you. Now I got to keep you under surveillance, right? Which means if I'm using all my energy to keep track of what you're doing, then I'm not creating anything, am I? Born out of what love is. Therefore, if you're experiencing the still point of a true vacuum, you are naturally experiencing zero. So you're everywhere at once. Wherever the one is, we are. And that allows us to map the consciousness field, which is known as the speed, which is speed ratio, which is the mathematical visual speed ratio of mathematics of change that is taking place over time. How long is it going to take us in order to rebuild what broke? Right? So when you start blaming others for what happened to what we, by virtue of what we experience, right? So if somebody's working in another building, in another galaxy, or doing something over there that I'm not aware of, if something goes wrong, like something implodes or explodes, chances I'll become aware of it. Because news, as in Northeast, West, and South, right, travels fast through circuits, units of self-awareness that are communicating to other cells or letting other cells know, hey. So when you're running 100% capacitor, which is a full charge to sense, now we're sensing what all cells are sensing. Now we become aware of what's going on through all the cells that we're connected with, which is all creation. And that's what it means to protect the all creation, which is protect our inner solar code, right? Protecting our codes, protecting our template, protecting the all creation, because all life is sacred. All life forms are sacred. Sacred sun temples, born out of the first sun, the first star, from which seeds get planted like trees, the memories of trees, the tree of life. Imagine the memories. If you could sit down with a giant redwood, go up there to Devil's Tower in Wyoming and sit down, right? And just let the energy flow, let your conscious energy just flow, and just communicate directly with the tower and say, what's going on? Just let it go. Let me feel what you're experiencing. Let me see if I can experience what your memories are experiencing, what's been coded into your cellular memories in the planet. For as long as you've been around, you have a record, right? That Devil's Tower has a record of everything that it's experienced ever since it was planet, ever since it came into creation. There is a record of that. So now you're into the cosmic level records and access to the cosmic level records. But here's the deal, Thomas. How long would it take you to experience everything that's been recorded ever since the first record? That would take forever, wouldn't it? Because the first recorder is always recording something new as an integrated circuit, which is harmonic convergence, which is two magnets become one, which is non-polarized. Yeah, experiencing the still point of a true vacuum, which is true love, which is eternal peace. The still point. I know. So you're out in Colorado. What part of Colorado are you in? I went through Steamboat Springs one time on a Greyhound bus when I came out of Kansas City after taking a lady back to Arkansas, the Ozarks. And I think we came through Steamboat at a bus stop there around 12:30 at night. A lot of snow on the ground. Came up through, what is that called? Eisenhower Pass when you come up out of Denver. And then I was on my way to Salt Lake and then headed back to, you know where Idaho Falls, Idaho was? I was working for an environmental waste cleanup team, folks that are nuclear scientists that worked out at the Idaho National Engineering Laboratory. Yeah, so I've been down to, if you go look at an old map, by the way, right there. Since you live in Colorado, I figure you probably know where Four Corners is, where Arizona, what is it? Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah all come together. The old map that I was using when I came down from Salt Lake and I was headed down to through the Navajo Nation to what is it, Gallup, New Mexico, to get on to I-40. It had right there on the map, using an old trucker's map, an old McNally trucker's map, and the name of that highway was called 666. I went and looked at a recent map, and you don't see that there anymore. They changed it. They changed the maps. Changing the maps changes the consciousness field of the maps, the map read, the visual map read. Layers. Deadlight layers. Virtual world layers. The digital format.